My friends and I thought that the color mahogany was funny. Wow. So
Wait. It is funny.
Why?
Just objectively hilarious.
we used to just walk around. We used to just walk around and go mahogany, mahogany.
Yo, what's up, people of the internet? Welcome back to another episode of the Waveform podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Marques.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm David.
This week, we do have a lot of stuff. We've got a doozy. We've got, Android features. A bunch of new stuff got leaked. Apple might stagger the iPhone release, which is kind of interesting based on the other rumors that we'll talk about. Arguably the biggest update to the Apple third-party App Store fiasco and lawsuit.
But first,
We, the producers of said
so happy
podcast,
about this.
have to remove a point from Marques because, as the people of the internet have correctly pointed out, the iPhone 6 that we gave a point to Marques to last week in trivia actually came out in 2015, not 2014. So we're taking the point away.
Dang.
Wah, wah. Sorry,
I
Marques.
don't like how cheerful this is.
I like the music.
How happy you guys are to take this point away from me.
You
know,
say you like the music, but this is the same music that would have played during that Spotify thing we were talking about, where you have
Was
to...
it?
No,
No,
but
that
it's
was way
very
better.
similar.
but I'm using that forever.
That felt
now.
very Diddy Kong Racing.
I would take
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Other game shows, if they mess up, you keep the money.
I don't know.
We're not other
when
game
the bank
shows.
messes up, they come after you.
Other game shows don't have hundreds of comments begging to take
Fair.
the point away. So
Fair enough. All right.
they keep us honest, and that's why you should subscribe so you can make sure we don't get any extra points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you'd like to see me continue to be devastated by trivia, make sure you hit that red button.
Cash a $90,000 check and it wasn't real, the bank will destroy you.
That's fair enough.
Sounds like a personal problem.
All right, let's get into it. First thing is Apple might, I don't know where this came from. It's sort of an out of the blue rumor, but Apple might only release the Pro iPhones in 2026.
Yes.
And then stagger the regular iPhones to be released months later.
Yeah.
I don't know
The information.
I don't understand this one. I don't understand why they would do that, because typically the standard iPhones use the same chip as the previous year's iPhones.
Right.
So they would be even older and more out of date. Do you find any merit in
I think
this?
maybe they would get rid of that fact and they would start using the good chips again, but just not the Pro version and the regular version instead.
Okay.
Because the Pro phone, the big Pro phone, the most expensive one in the United States is always the one that sells the most.
In the
right?
US,
In the
yes.
United States.
It is.
So it kind of makes sense. I mean, they're planning on releasing 2 new iPhone models in the next 2 years. So at this point, we're going to have the Air and we're also going to have a Fold.
Can we make an example of how this would play out in
Yes.
2026?
Yes.
So
Okay, so last year we had, in 2024, the iPhone was the 16, 16 Plus, 16 Pro, 16 Pro Max. Mm-hmm. Then we got the 16e at the beginning of 2025. Mm-hmm. So now the end of 2025 would still be...
This is normal, besides the Air
still
that
be
comes out
normal.
this year. So this is starting
17,
next year.
17 Pro, 17 Plus, 17
Air. Yeah.
Great. So then in 2026, we would get the iPhone 18 Pro and 18 Pro Max, and those are the premium iPhones. And then
Some of them.
6 months later, we would get the iPhone 18 Air, 18, and 18 Plus.
No.
No?
So the report says that in fall of 2026, we get the Pro, the foldable, which is the hot dog style,
Okay.
right? And then you also get the Air.
Okay.
And then it's 6 months later that you're going to get the regular models and the E.
So the regular gets pushed to E launch, which is usually like Q2-ish
Yeah.
of the following year.
Yeah.
So kind of like the A series in Pixel.
Right. So I'm not totally sure how they're doing this chip-wise, whether or not they're just going to give all the iPhones the good chip again, except not the Pro version, so like one less GPU core. But it does kind of make sense to release all the Pro versions at the same time because those are the most hot-selling ones anyway. Mm-hmm. And if you have 3 kind of Pro-ish iPhones, it depends on if you consider the Air a
it's
Pro
the
phone.
Air.
The Air is at least
be
the one
premium
that
in
a lot
some
of people
way.
want to buy. Yeah, it's
Sure.
premium. So
Allegedly.
Allegedly. So I think this makes a lot of sense, but it is interesting to think of the regular iPhone getting kind of delegated towards the more budget side of the world, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I mean, I never had a problem with all the iPhones coming out at the same time, but I also would find it interesting to have different release cycles than we usually do. There's also a little more information about the foldable from the information article. They say it would potentially have a 5.7-inch screen while closed and a just under 8-inch screen while open. And Ming Chi Kuo has previously suggested it would be around 4.5 to 4.8 millimeters thick open.
Yeah.
And use Face ID instead of Touch ID.
Yeah.
As a tech review channel, music to my ears.
Yeah, as a content creator, that's just
You mean
more.
we don't have
three
3
videos.
weeks to do 4 iPhone videos of 4 iPhones?
5
No.
iPhones.
You still, because if the Air comes out,
yeah.
then there still is.
There's still 3 iPhones.
There's still 3 levels. Actually, there's more.
I know, but we'll
levels
get
of it.
6 months.
No. The Fold, the Pro, and the Air come out at the same time.
Okay.
Which actually means, because normally we just get Pro models and regular models, so we get 3 then.
And that's basically 3 reviews.
Yeah, that's 3 reviews.
take
And then
it back.
6 months later, we get, instead of just the E, we have the regular and the E. It's actually 2 separate times. That's almost twice as much work.
I take it back. Apple, what have you done?
Okay, but considering our Waveform iPhone episodes usually do pretty well, I'll
it's
take
more,
an extra.
It's more new hardware to talk about, which is interesting.
Can
it's
I
more,
tell you guys something about that?
Go for it.
We had our monthly meeting the other day, and I put all the stats into AI and said, hey, give me some recommendations as to what we should do.
Did it tell you to eat rocks?
It literally told me to just talk about iPhones. It was like, it seems like the iPhone episodes do great.
this
You guys
is-
should focus more on iPhones.
This is the fact. If you are a tech channel on YouTube and looking to start out, the lowest common denominator, like the easiest way to get the most views the fastest, is to just talk about Apple all the time.
Dang.
Because people, especially in English-speaking countries, talk about Apple a lot, care about Apple a lot, click on Apple a lot. It's the same as I want to do a car video. What company am I going to talk about?
Yeah.
Obviously, Tesla.
I want to make that clear, though, that the reason it gets views is because people are interested in it.
Exactly.
Like, I also think an interesting point to that is, like, I think people who dislike Apple will hate watch things where Apple fans don't really give a damn about other stuff and don't hate watch other things.
Yeah, I think that's a real dynamic. You're saying if you hate, you're saying there's more people who hate Apple and actively watch Apple videos to hate rather than the other way around.
Well, we were just talking about this with something else the other day. I think it was with Tesla.
Yeah, it was with Tesla. We
Yeah.
actually, the similar analytics note where if you are a car channel and you are looking at your analytics and you've noticed, wow, everything that I do with Tesla in the title seems to do like way more numbers, you'll notice that people don't look at EVs as Tesla alternatives and watch those more. Instead, they hate watch the Tesla video and then leave.
Are we sure that that's not just like the vocal minority though?
Well-
and there's actually a majority of people who are interested in the car that watch it. But
I
don't
think
leave
that's
a
also,
comment?
I think it's
It's both.
both. I think,
Same with Apple, right?
yeah, I think part of it is like, and why I wanted to say that was there. It's so easy to say X person just does this for views, but like
Right.
those views means it's people interested in that video, which
Right.
means there are just people interested. Like that's, you can still be interested. Like views has such this negative connotation in
Yeah.
YouTube, which doesn't always translate as
Yeah.
only doing it for like money or whatever. But I also think there are, because it's also easier to do that in both of these senses, Tesla and Apple. It's easier to point at one thing where if you're on the other side, the Tesla side or the Apple side, you're not going to go to every Google, Samsung, Huawei, OnePlus, like all of them, or you're on Tesla, not going to be going to every Chevy,
Right.
Toyota video and like
True.
be mean.
Yeah, it's also a reason why I think people like me use the most well-followed companies' products as like reference points for other things. So sometimes people talk about like, wow, you always seem to talk about Apple or you always seem to reference an Apple product, when a lot of times that's just the thing that most people watching are already
context
familiar with, and
Yeah.
it's giving context for other things. So if I can tell you that a phone looks a certain, maybe a photo from the camera looks a certain way compared to the iPhone, when you've already seen a lot of iPhone photos, it helps you understand that.
Yeah.
Or if I talk about specs, similar stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just that big pillar in the middle of the stuff happening in this world.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Speaking
of talking about only Apple, is that what you're gonna do?
that was literally my
I'm
transition.
sorry. I was like waiting to do it for about 5 minutes.
Well, same.
I was like, I have to let people talk and then I can do it.
Well, speaking of how we only talk about Apple,
Speaking of how we only talk about Apple, we're going to talk about Google. We'll talk about Apple again later, but
I think that worked better in your heads.
no,
I think so too.
I thought it was funny.
We'll talk plenty
Ellis-
about Apple later.
Ellis and I both thought it was funny. Google accidentally leaked Material 3 Expressive, which is definitely a name for a UI.
Material 3 Expressive.
If you remember, we had Material U last time around,
Well,
which
it
was
started
with the Pixel 6. It started with Material Design.
Exactly.
Which was a long time ago. Material Design was this way of basically adding sort of layered interaction systems to design elements, as in you're stacking like paper sheets. So if you see the hamburger menu that is in a lot of Google apps where things will layer over each other, that was Material Design. They updated it over time. Material U was Material Design, but it was weirder in a lot of ways. Matching colors, different ways to make your UI more expressive, which is ironic because now this new version of Material Design is called Material 3 Expressive. Google did a bunch of tests where they conducted many different research studies. They say 46, and they dialed in a new system that they say is both beautiful and highly usable. It's actually very funny because there's a bunch of info on all of the research that they did, and they have all these graphs. And one of the graphs it was like people that think that things stand apart and are cool are cool.
The graphs are like pretty much like, hey, here's how this vibes with people. And it's like the number one way to kill a vibe is to put it in percentage points inside of a graph. It's just like, it's coolness attributes. 98% say it stands apart. 87% say it's defiant. Like this is
98% original.
It is really. I would love
100% reason to remember the name.
I would want to like be a fly on the wall and have Tim read through this and see what he thinks, because it's really hard to quantify design,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Totally.
So yeah, you want it to be energetic, but what does that mean?
From what I understand, Material 3 Expressive is like an evolution of Material U, where Material U was weird shapes. This is both weird shapes and weird fonts. But another part of it that I find actually quite interesting is if you look at the design schemas, you have an app like, say, Gmail. So like there's this screenshot of Gmail here, and they basically separate the app into multiple different little windows. So everything is kind of like localized into its own space. They round off all the edges. They get rid of sort of that super flat design where you can't tell like where it ends and where it begins. And I think that it looks pretty cool. Whether or not you think it's cool is up to you.
I think this looks really good. I agree. The separation of things makes it easier to find everything.
Yeah.
I don't know why the send button needs to be 50% larger than all the other buttons and just take up space.
Yeah.
But besides that, I do think this way of separating things in these like floating menus makes the navigation way easier.
Yeah. And they also like the fonts are way different. There's different layered stuff.
You guys should check out this article and look at some of these visuals if you get a chance. They're very colorful. There's a lot of frills and shapes and floating things, and UI is generally shuffled quite a bit. And there's lots of interesting aspect ratios, and that it's just very different.
Yeah.
My only want is that it's still intuitive. Like if you're going to move things around, at least keep them places that it makes sense for them to be.
Yeah.
I actually don't mind in this like Gmail screenshot that the send button is big, because that's the biggest button.
The biggest thing you're going to use.
I'm going to use most often. The keyboard is the same size. Like my attachment buttons are a little bit more easy to find. Reachability is another concern. Like put things near the bottom of our ever increasingly larger phone screens.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. It's just, very, I don't know how, what do you mean by, what does this graph say? A 30% jump in rebelliousness. What?
That send button's rebellious, Marques.
What does that mean? I don't know.
How do you make a UI rebellious?
So that's the story.
There's a button that says, I'm going to sue Google.
Imagine in Photoshop, there's like a rebelliousness slider and you just slide it up and make it more rebellious.
The send button turns into a hammer.
Yeah. What is happening there?
Yeah.
I do like the way it looks better though in this Gmail concept.
Definitely.
Because it does, like to your point, Marques, about it remaining intuitive. I feel like that is intuitive because like the to and from portions of it, you're sending an email, like that's somewhere else. You don't need to constantly see that as you're typing out the email. So I like that they like push that away. You have the send button, you have the attach button, all of that.
What it really feels like is that they're just making everything as random as physically possible, which I will take,
That sounds pretty rebellious.
Maybe that is what rebellious means.
30% more rebellious.
But I'm interested how you create a design scheme that is inherently like random, because obviously there's going to be a system in place. But yeah, I don't know. Something else that I find very funny on one of the graphs that they shared is that they took a bunch of data from different age groups, and just as people get older, they hate expressive things more and more. It's like ages
Evergreen.
18 to 24%, 87% of that demographic prefers expressive. 25 to 34, 81. 35 to 44, 65. 45 to 54, 62. 55 to 64, 52.
You just said a lot of numbers.
I just said a lot of numbers. You can just basically think of it as you get older, you get more boring and more angry.
What's the word? What's the word?
Can confirm.
Yeah, my back hurts.
Is this them just trying to like tailor the experience to get back the youths?
That's something for sure.
Where like it's fun to make fun of the like vibe graphs at the bottom, but like this does look good. I can't wait to see it for real because all these leaks are just like light purple, and I want to see a couple other colors. But
Yeah.
overall,
15% of my diet is Cholula.
if I made everything Cholula colored, my life would be a better place.
Yeah. I really wonder if they're going to call it Material 3 Expressive.
I bet they will.
They should just call it Material U2.
Material 3.
Well,
would be fine.
material,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
basically that, isn't it? Because material 3 is material U.
It
so now
is.
it's like material
They should just call it Material Us.
dot I. Oh, material.
Yeah,
us.
Material
I actually
Us.
love that.
Material I.
Material US.
Material I am.
US.
Us.
Us. Oh.
Like big U, little S.
Like the S that they used on the iPhones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what it
It's
also
like
reminded me?
iPhone 7S.
The how colorful everything is and how expressive and vibey it all is further and further from the minimal phones we keep seeing. Like the minimal phone is just white text, black background, box.
That's true.
And this phone is like every button will be a little different.
Yeah.
For some reason, all these remind me of like Spotify Wrapped.
Oh, yeah.
Like they're just like scrolling through the like little slideshow they give you. It's
I
like,
agree
what
with
if your
you.
whole phone was Spotify Wrapped?
Let's go.
It's a little chaotic.
That's what the
but
kids want.
I see it.
That has some W riz. Okay. So there's a very good 9 to 5 Google article that we'll link in the show notes about that. So you should go check
If you
that
want
out.
to see it, yeah.
One last story that's definitely about Apple. Google's desktop mode is finally coming. And it's just like Dex. And I was going to let Adam talk about it, but I feel like that's exactly what he wanted
What
to
more
say.
needs to
he
be
wanted
said?
Michelle Ramon from Android Authority posted this first look at Google's own desktop mode, which adds a taskbar at the bottom for pinned in recent apps and also allows you to launch apps that you can resize and snap just like you can do in Windows and Mac OS, which is quite cool. It is probably not going to launch with this new version of Android, but probably the one down the line because it's still in very early stages. But you will be able to drag and drop content from one app to another as long as the apps support it, which I find very cool. Yeah. So,
I was gonna say, can I be the village idiot here for a second?
let's go.
Haven't we talked about this like 8 times
Oh,
already?
yeah, baby.
And is
You
it
know
still
it.
the same thing that's
Oh, yeah,
almost
baby.
here?
Well,
Yeah.
yes, first of all.
Okay.
Second of all, last time that we spoke about this, it was just them discovering it at all. Like, oh,
Okay,
this
okay.
exists. That's
Yeah.
crazy. And like my phone right now, I have the Pixel 9 Pro. You could plug it into a screen and get like a very basic kind of desktop thing.
Yeah.
This is them now updating that
Okay.
and making it,
It looks good.
way more usable.
In the video, there's a video there on their YouTube channel on the site. It looks like Chrome OS, which is, I'm sure, how it's supposed to look.
Yeah. I mean, I would
Drag.
prefer if they just use this instead of Chrome OS, you know?
Yeah, just drag because it's everything that's on your phone already too. So your messages and all that stuff. But it's like you can drag Android apps next to each other. You can have Chrome next to whatever random app you were going to copy and paste into whatever. Like it's functional because it's got the stuff that's already on your phone, but also then it's a Chrome OS computer when you plug it into this shell screen, whatever. It's cool.
How close are we to getting back to Project Linda? The Razer laptop where you stick your phone inside of it and it's just a screen and a keyboard to run off your phone.
I think the idea of this is kind of that you can plug it into like any Windows computer and it'll turn into this. Like you can boot it into this.
It would be sweet if my laptop was just a place to slide my phone into and
That's
then
been
have
the
a
dream
workspace.
for
Yeah.
I mean,
at
it-
least a decade.
Linda, everyone thought it was cool, but it
did
was
think
just a Razer CES product that never would see the light of day.
And the problem was that it would only work with the phone that was exactly that
Exactly.
shape.
Yeah.
But why not just use a laptop?
Because
It
it costs.
is-
the shell would cost like a couple $100.
Yeah, the shell would be cheaper and it would I've done actually a similar progression around my own house, which is I had a computer upstairs and I had a computer in the basement, and I've slowly started getting rid of computers, and I just take my laptop and I plug it into the monitor instead. And it's obviously you can just have another computer, but if you just want to keep all of your stuff on one computer and then move it around and it sort of adapts to the form factor of the space you're in, that idea is appealing to people. And if you can do it all from a phone, then you only have your phone in your pocket, and that can expand to be laptop size, desktop size, TV size, whatever. That's like a nice idea.
Never forget your files again.
Yeah, you always know what computer it's on.
Except you can't do any video editing or,
I don't know, bro.
there's some light stuff, I guess.
It's interesting because I feel like Apple's kind of doing the exact opposite thing, right? There with the iPhone mirroring, where it's like, oh, you want to use your phone on your computer, just open it as a little window.
Yeah.
Which
is quite cool.
Yeah, it is super cool.
If you're able to do this wirelessly, that would be amazing.
No way. There's no way.
There's a way.
There's no way.
I mean, they already do that with the iPhone mirroring. They already have that wirelessly.
No, yeah, totally.
So, I mean, if you could just say, I'm mirroring the phone, but also it's changing the UI up a little bit.
There's no way.
Well, I'll see it when I see live transcription over video.
Oh, but I think I'm about to be proven big time wrong about that. So let's maybe hold on. Hold our tongues there.
You got to pull that clip up. Yeah. Also, I can't ignore the slight. Well, we've always talked about this. The fact that Apple makes a device in each of these categories and wants to sell you multiple things versus Google doesn't make as many of those things. They don't make a desktop computer. They make a lot of software, but they don't want to also sell you a laptop.
Yeah. Google sells Chrome, right? Yeah. At least for now. So their big idea was that Chrome is your internet computer, and as long as you're logged into your Chrome account, you've got your computer anywhere. That was their whole big idea with Chrome OS, and why they were trying to put a Chrome OS thing in every room of your house. Now, if they have to sell Chrome, that is messed up a lot. But yeah, that is kind of the opposite of Apple, where they're just we need to sell you more hardware. Google doesn't have a lot of hardware to sell you, and the hardware that they do sell with Chrome OS is just to get you on Google services. Yeah. So it's quite different.
What I wanted to say doesn't connect as well, but you mentioned, this is my fault. You mentioned how they're trying to sell you all these different things. Well, later in the episode, we're going to talk about why iPad OS might be getting a little closer to one of those.
True.
Whoa,
but
what
first,
a tease.
Way later in the episode.
Welcome back to another episode. What was so funny?
Just cut off really early. Or a little early.
It's so hot in here.
All right. Material this, material that, whatever. Today's question is, Aero, Metro, and Fluent are 3 iterations of which tech company's design language?
Yes.
What is it?
This.
Aero, Metro, and Fluent.
You know.
I know.
You know.
Andrew knows.
You remember.
We got it.
Pepperidge Farm remembers. Andrew doesn't remember.
Those who know.
I'm already thinking about the points I'm going to get at the end of the episode.
And I'm already thinking about the points we're going to take away from you in the next episode.
The answers, of course, will be at the end. Like usual, we'll be thinking about it. We'll be right back. Support for the show comes from Shopify. Shopify wants to help you get that upstart business you've been thinking about become the dream you've always envisioned. But we all know that journey isn't easy. When we started this podcast, we had our fair share of tough times.
So, funny story, when we actually started Waveform in 2019, the first episode scheduling got messed up to the point where you were in California, you flew home from California, recorded the podcast on Thursday, flew back to California, I edited all night, and we released it on Friday.
Yeah, and that was our first launch. It was
that
great.
was our first episode.
And even with that shaky launch, seeing all the awesome feedback we got from it, all the comments, we knew we had to start something special. So if you're running a small business, then you face the same challenges we faced. And if you're looking for a partner to help grow your business, Shopify is the answer. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, according to their data. Shopify has the built-in tools to help you with the social media and email campaigns and boasts a 99.99% conversion rate from browsers to buyers, both online and in-store. The best part, you can tackle all the important tasks in one place, from inventory to payments to analytics and more. So Shopify even has global selling tools to support sales in more than 150 countries. So simply put, Shopify is a small choice that can have a monumental impact on your business. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period and start selling today at shopify.com/waveform. Go to shopify.com/waveform. That's shopify.com/waveform.
Welcome back to the podcast that only talks about Apple and the Nintendo Switch 2. In 2020, I had to get it in there at some point.
It's good transcript SEO.
You guys might remember that in 2021, Epic, the company that makes Fortnite, sued Apple with this absolutely epic video that they dropped as soon as Fortnite got kicked off the App Store. Basically, what happened is that Epic had a system in Fortnite that would allow you to go buy the Fortnite bucks somewhere else for cheaper.
V-Bucks.
They knew it was against the rules.
Fortnite
V-Bucks.
bucks.
V-Bucks.
V-Bucks, yeah.
V-Bucks.
Yeah.
They knew it was against the rules. Apple kicked them off the App Store. They immediately dropped a lawsuit and this 1980 Fortnite video.
Banger video.
Do you remember this?
It was so good.
Yeah.
It was a whole PR stunt.
It was a whole PR stunt. They had it ready. They were doing this on purpose.
Apple walked right into it.
They did. They did walk right into it. So Epic sued them, and it was a pretty long lawsuit that took a while to resolve, but it did resolve. And Apple actually won most of the case, which was quite ironic because Epic also sued Google, and Google lost the case, and it was for almost the same thing. So it was kind of dumb. But part of the case that they did not win was that the judge decided that there needed to be anti-steering laws in place, which is to say Apple is not allowed to not let developers tell people you can go get this cheaper somewhere else. This whole problem stems from the fact that Apple takes a 30% tax on all digital purchases through the App Store.
And all microtransactions inside of apps.
Right, which is a digital
in the App Store
purchase.
as well. Yeah. So anytime you buy an app, anything, and then anytime you buy anything in the app.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Famously, Kindle books too. You could not buy Kindle books
because
in
it was a
app,
digital
yeah.
asset, which is ironic because if you bought a real book on Amazon, it would not be subjected to that tax.
Wow.
But if you bought a Kindle book, it would be subjected to that tax. So there were circumstances where physical books were cheaper than ebooks.
Wow.
Because of this. For
Especially
the
at your local independent bookstore.
Yes. Okay. So the part that Epic won was that the judge said that they couldn't stop developers from telling people, oh, you can like go get this cheaper somewhere else, or like, you know, go to this link so that you can go onto the web. If you remember correctly, Apple implemented this fairly quickly, but they did it in the most malicious compliance way possible. They created this extremely complex thing for developers where they were like, okay, well, technically you can allow people to like go off of the App Store into the web, but they added all of these pop-ups that were like, are you sure you want to go to the web? We can't control what happens there.
Commit crimes. Do it.
Yes. So yeah, it was very scary, and Apple basically had a very bad faith interpretation of that ruling. So what happened next was that the case kept going, and Apple basically got caught doing a bunch of malicious compliancy things that the judge decided was like not fitting into the law that she had like told them to do, right? Yeah. So there was this injunction that came down a few days ago, and it was basically saying like, oh, you didn't listen to anything I said. You just created all these bad faith interpretations of my ruling, and now I'm going to screw you over because you screwed me over.
Like, you didn't learn your lesson from this. Now I need to teach you a lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there were all of
TLDR.
these. Yeah, pretty much. A lot of internal messages that Apple had sent to one another within the company got released, and a lot of stuff that was in that was them repeatedly choosing the most like user hostile options possible to try to steer people away from doing anything off of the App Store.
Yeah.
For example, Apple had to allow buttons, links, or other calls to action, which they interpreted as one of the other instead of one or the other instead of all of them. So the ruling said buttons, links, or other calls to action. And Apple was like, oh, so we can do a button, a link, or another call to action instead of all of them. Wow. So they created all these mock-ups that
is
basically
the most lawyer thing. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
They created all these mock-ups that showed different options where it was like, okay, we could do this, or we could make it really, really hard for the user to be able to use this thing. And there's these messages from people within Apple where they're saying like, oh, make it scarier, make it harder for the user. They literally said scarier. And they were sending mock-ups to each other and just making them more and more convoluted. And there's messages from people within Apple being like, oh, keep going. Make it even worse.
No, it was literally, ooh, keep going.
This also, like, I think to our audience, getting a little warning that says, are you sure you want to go there? We can't control it. Like, we've all been there. We've all done that. We click it immediately.
Wait, you've been on the internet?
Yeah.
Like, our parents, if my mom saw that, she would probably call me and be like, I think I have a virus on my phone.
Yeah.
Without even clicking the button. Sorry, Mom. I know you're listening to this, but
yeah.
like,
No, 100%.
yeah, like that's terrifying for 90% of phone
Yeah.
users.
Yeah, those dialog boxes are designed to stop you from doing it. It's kind of the same thing as like when you first, well, maybe this is just something I do a lot, but when you first get an Android phone and you have never sideloaded anything, you have to go into Chrome settings and be like, allow me to install things
Yes.
from not the Play Store, so that every time I go to install something, like I sideload it, it doesn't pop up the dialog box and go, okay, just so you know, this is not from the App Store. Are you sure you want to do this? And I go, yes. So
Yeah.
it's designed to stop you.
You know how Apple already makes it hard for you to like open a YouTube video because it's like open in Safari and it's that little dialog box.
Mm-hmm.
They like showed that as an option for going out of the App Store. They're like, no, we need to make it way worse. So they made a full page thing that said, are you sure you want to continue? With like a bunch of scary text that didn't make any sense, that just kind of freaked people out. They also on that window listed the developer name instead of the app name. So it's like Apple cannot control this anymore. It's actually in the hands of developer name, which most people do not know who the developer of the app that they're using is.
Or worse, it's like an indie developer who just goes by their real name.
Right.
And then you're like, who's this guy?
Yeah. The like John Appleseed is going to be in control of your data now. So all this stuff. There are even messages from a user experience manager at Apple who said that the phrasing sounds scary, so execs will love it.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just,
And then the judge is reading all this like, y'all didn't learn anything.
yeah. Apple actually argued that scary did not mean something that would scare people, but that it was an industry term that meant raising awareness or caution.
Duh.
That's Apple's got those good lawyers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not good
Is
enough.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Because what David, would you like to share what the judge said? The quote.
Oh, at the end of the injunction?
Yeah.
Like the Tim Cook chose poorly?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
It
know
was
if I
something along the
have
lines
the
of like
exact thing here.
It was something along the lines of like, you know, we gave Apple the choice of how to handle this, and he goes, and Cook chose poorly.
Yeah, there were a bunch of bangers in that injunction. Okay, so also the judge had originally said that Apple could charge a fee for apps that were linked outside the App Store, but it needed to provide evidence that the company had a good reason to charge those numbers, because she found that 30% wasn't actually based on anything, right? It's kind of just that random industry number that both Apple and Google decided on, and that became the number. So there were a bunch of conversations internally about what they should charge. Phil Schiller actually recommended that they didn't take any commission, which is quite surprising. But a lot of people were arguing, and Tim Cook eventually was like, no, we're going to do 27%.
27%.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they still take a cut if you get linked to an app outside the App Store, and then or a product outside the App Store, and then you have to back pay Apple that money.
Wow.
Yeah. So in the new ruling, the judge was still very annoyed and said that they just came up with the 27% number out of nowhere, which was true.
Yep.
They also restricted developers from doing things like keeping users logged in. So every single time they would use a link, they couldn't use dynamic links. They just had to use regular web links. So if you wanted to like go to the Epic store or whatever, you'd have to log into your Epic account every time you wanted to buy V-Bucks.
Or like, yeah, every time you want to buy V-Bucks, which as someone who's spent way too much money on skins in other games, it's pretty often.
Yeah.
So like
I'm
every
still waiting
time
for
you
that
want,
Gojo drop.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot, and to sign in every single
Every time.
probably a really long password that you've changed a million times because your friends are trying to hack you for your sweet Fortnite skins. Like, gotta stay protected out there, man.
Yeah. Okay, so what happens now? Apple now has to give developers 0 restrictions when using buttons and links in their app to let users make purchases over the web. Because previously, when they would put that link in the app, or button as they defined it as, even though it was like a regular little web link, they couldn't put it in the standard area where you buy things in the app. They had to put it somewhere else, which is insane. Like, that's an insane rule. So they can't do that anymore. They cannot take any commission for purchases made over the web, which is hilarious because the judge said you just have to like give me a justified number. Like you have to justify that number and come up with reasons why that number makes sense. And because they just pulled it out of a hat, now she's saying you can't take any commission anymore.
They had a great reason. It made them a shit ton of money.
The
value generated was incredible.
Yeah. This means that tons of apps are going to start including links to sign up for their subscriptions or have microtransactions through their website, so that Apple can't take that amount. Because now, if you're an app developer, you can have in the app, buy this thing, but then Apple takes 30%. But now you can also have go to our store, it opens it in Safari or whatever your default web browser is, and you can pay through there. And Apple can't take any of that money now.
Yeah. And they're going to tell you, hey, it's going to be cheaper if you go this way. It's going to incentivize people.
If they say this is 25% cheaper, the developer makes 5% more than they normally would, and they don't have to pay Apple, people are generally going to go with that option.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nuts. Like, this is a very big thing to change for the App Store. It was also found that Apple's executive VP of Finance lied under oath about what that percentage was, because he had said that they came up with the number over a bunch of different, they came up with all this reasoning and it was at the last minute, and they actually had just come up with it earlier and were like, no, we're just going to take 27%. So she referred the California court to prosecute him potentially, which is kind of insane. Whoa. Yeah. So there's a lot of drama that was going down here.
Okay, wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
So you're saying that they now have links that developers can put it in their apps that will open up on Safari, right?
Yeah.
To do a thing.
Yeah.
So in the app, can't they also incentivize developers to put a pay with Apple Pay option?
Yeah.
So would that still have the 30%?
Yeah. As long as the payment
is not leaving the app.
If the payment is made within the app, Apple takes 30%.
Sheesh.
Yeah. Okay. But if you go to a website, then it's different.
I'm assuming these apps are also going to go really hard into the please go buy over here. You will spend way less money. And
100%.
That's what I would assume.
We've already seen a bunch of developers do this. Spotify has already done this. Patreon is doing that this week. Fortnite, Epic is doing it this week. They're putting Fortnite back on the App Store.
Yeah, they're putting it back on the App Store
in the next week. So
they're putting it back on. That's the news. Why didn't we lead with that?
Well, no, that's what all this boils they won.
Yeah. Because the whole reason they got kicked off the App Store was because they did this, and now because they legally have to allow this, they're not violating anything anymore. So they have to allow them back on the App Store, which is crazy. So the future of this is going to be very interesting, because if Apple can no longer take 30% on every purchase anymore, because it is to the user's benefit to be able to go onto the web and buy something for cheaper, Apple services revenue off of the App Store is going to drop significantly, and that's a huge portion of their revenue.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's one of the. I mean, it hits them where it hurts. That's a big deal for Apple.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Does this make the App Store less appealing to new developers?
Rolling?
Yeah.
Why?
I feel like it makes it
more appealing.
More appealing because you can use it as a platform for visibility, but then also send people out to get from your website. And that's
it also
a win.
It makes Apple have to actually make it worth buying things within the app there. Are there actual things they're doing for these developers to make it easier to pay inside the app versus going to a website? Because there are people who will pay a little bit of a premium to make a one-tap payment or something like that. But if you're charging these crazy fees, I'm always going to take the extra 5 minutes to save 30% on my Galaxy Fortnite skin.
Right. Yeah, a comment that I saw online was that these indie developers and smaller developers, you could say whether or not Epic is indie or not, but they're effectively subsidizing a bank app, for example. Chase Bank pays $100 a year for that developer fee, and that is all they pay to Apple to host the Chase app. And Chase gets so much more value from hosting the Chase app than like a small indie developer does, who every time they have any sort of subscription or any microtransaction, Apple takes 30% of that. Like, that is insane. And so now it's sort of like evening the playing field so that everyone sort of has the same opportunity. Because Chase is the same way. Like, any bank is the same way. You sign up for the bank on a web browser or whatever. You go to a bank, you do that. You sign in through the app, and it's just a portal. Yeah. And that's what's going to be the case for pretty much all apps now. So, yeah. Big change. Apple is, of course, going to appeal this. But the judge did say there will not be another bite at the apple as her last sentence in the injunction.
Is this judge a rapper?
This
Yeah.
this sounds like a Netflix like drama kind of with some of the lines they're dropping.
She was really mad. She was really mad.
Incredible.
Yeah.
That's one thing I find really interesting about all of this is like, man, Fortnite's really been around for a while.
Yeah.
That the fact that this is still like a big thing where they're bringing it back, and this started in 2021 when Fortnite was already huge. Like,
I mean, they have Sabrina Carpenter now, you know.
I was talking about this the other night with my friend because I hopped on Fortnite for like the first time. Actually, no, the second time ever. And he was telling me about all the new like updates that they did and all the new collabs. And I was like, is this the best game ever? Like, it is insane how big this game is and how every season people are so hyped to play this game still.
Dota 2 might like a word.
I know
I don't
no
know
one
about
that plays
That's-
Dota 2 besides
Am I
you.
no one to you, Adam?
Besides you.
I think you could argue right off the bat in current games that are very popular, that have been for a long time, is like Minecraft's pretty up there also.
More than Fortnite?
Yeah. Was there?
It's been around longer.
Movie?
Huh.
Not yet.
Oh, that's
Not
true.
yet.
But they have had concerts in Fortnite. Is that considered a movie?
It's close. I'm just thinking about like, you know, the pantheon of
this
like
a movie?
media.
Is this a movie?
Minecraft's probably 1A and Fortnite 1B, I think, at this point.
It's.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Fortnite probably makes way more money than Minecraft. I'm totally guessing on that
They're back
because
in
of
the
how
App
many
Store.
crazy microtransactions there are in that game with skins
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But like, man, you just keep thinking Fortnite's gonna die, and it's still chugging.
I mean, it is crazy. Like, a lot of developers will release a game and then they maybe do like 1 or 2 seasons, and they're like, we're gonna stop supporting this now. 'cause
Or here's
it
the new
costs too
version of
much.
it,
Or
yeah.
here's the new version. Whereas Epic is just like, yep, new things coming out every few weeks forever. But it's easy for them because they can just do all these collaborations, right? Now they have Star Wars coming out.
I mean, they're killing it. It's-
Came out. That's why I jumped on.
Oh, you did?
I got the Luke Skywalker skin, baby.
The fact that they can grab someone who's played the game one time to just
Yeah.
jump on, and I bet that was like a $30 skin.
Yep.
$22.99. I
Yeah,
think. Something
bro,
like
you
that.
literally played one time, jumped on, spent
No, I had
22
to buy
bucks, and I
the
bet you don't
V-Bucks.
even.
I think I spent like $8.99 real life money on the V-Bucks or
And
whatever.
do you
I don't know.
plan
They
on-
got me more or less is what I'm saying.
yeah,
Got.
yeah. So there's been a lot of tech antitrust stuff going on recently. There's a big story about how Google might have to sell Chrome. Nobody knows who's going to buy that if that happens. The ad tech business for Google might get broken up and have to be sold off. There's a lot of crazy.
Seems to be the
stuff.
theme of 2025, along with tariffs.
Yeah. Well, a lot of this stuff started in like 2021.
We're just getting like real things we're almost
Actually
seeing.
seeing,
It's still like some actual action towards it.
Okay, last little thing in this section before we go to trivia. There is a new hard drive art thingy out that I want.
Here are my 100 bullet points, and this is pretty hard drive.
Yeah. There's a company called Buffalo that is bringing back this hard drive design from 1998. It's called the Skeleton Hard Disk. And it basically shows the disk spinning on the inside. It's very pretty. It's kind of an accessory for your desktop with a little window that can show it spinning. And you can see the disk needle moving around.
Yeah.
And there's software that makes it so that you can just make the disk needle move in different ways. And there's one where it moves
Just
like a
constantly read and write things.
Yeah, there's one where it moves like a metronome.
So it's like a standing up hard disk.
It looks like a wireless phone charger.
Kind of, yeah. It's
Yeah.
black and gold. It looks really nice. Mm-hmm. I have 2 huge gripes, and one I think I hope I'm wrong about. This is an actual hard drive disk, right? Like a spinning hard drive
Yeah.
disk. We're still using
4
these?
terabytes.
Yeah.
Well,
wait.
yeah, it's 4 terabytes.
You're not
Well,
gonna store anything you care about. On
some
this.
people do.
I
but these.
I got a spinner at home.
Yeah, but You're not gonna buy a new one today.
I bought one new one 3 weeks
some
ago.
people do. Some people do.
Let's talk about transfer speeds with the micro USB this thing comes with.
Hey,
It's
that's USB-C.
That's micro USB.
That's micro USB. It's not just micro
Micro
USB.
B.
Yeah,
Oh, micro. Oh,
it's
no.
micro B. Yeah.
Okay, but look.
This is $700.
Counterpoint.
Jesus.
Counterpoint. If it's permanently on my desk, I don't really care what cable it's using.
I do.
So you're not gonna store stuff on it.
Well, yeah, I would. I probably would, unless I used it as a metronome the whole time.
That seems like you wouldn't want to actively break down your hard drive for the art of it and also store things you care about on it. Seems like a one or the other
Maybe
type
like
thing.
image storage that I only have to access every now and then. You know,
Time machine.
time machine. It's 4 terabytes. I don't know.
That's what mine's for.
Yeah.
Nostalgia hits people in funny ways, you know.
I'm not
So?
nostalgia for micro
Me neither.
B.
Or hard drives, to be honest.
But it's so pretty.
I'm a little nostalgic for hard drives.
Come on.
Not using them.
I had
They're
some
cool.
hard drive nightmares, and I was so happy. I was right in the age where we were growing up with SSDs for the first time, where people would buy like a 60 gig SSD to put the OS on and then store everything else on the hard drive because SSDs were so expensive.
Yeah.
You couldn't put everything on an SSD.
Yeah,
But
just-
SSDs are so much better than a hard drive. I was
Right.
like, I gotta have something
But-
on an SSD.
You put your OS on the SSD so it boots really
Exactly.
fast.
But
That's
like
crazy.
a hard drive, an SSD, I like plug in an external one and it's not working. And I'm like, is this fine? Why is it not connecting? Where a hard drive, I know when that's not working because it's like, and
This is
like,
true. I just feel like there's, I don't know, hard drives. I don't lust for old hard drive tech anymore.
But it's
love moving on
beautiful.
from old hard drives. I agree, it's designed well. It kind of looks like an album, like a showcase for an album or something. But that's cool.
This looks like a MagSafe charger. That's it. That you would put your phone onto. and
with a
charge.
clear thing.
Yeah, it's
shows
£3.
it
It's 4 terabytes,
window.
and if you've got $695 burning a hole in your pocket, you too could own one of these drives and plug it in via micro USB B.
yeah, the micro B part is. I don't
B
even
is the
know.
one it's micro, but it has the extra
extra little
additional
thing?
prong. Yeah,
wild.
it's so bad.
That's like the S5 came with that, but you can
Yeah.
just plug a regular micro
You
also
can't.
in.
It just makes it faster if you do.
Okay, counterpoint
Wait, to his or to mine?
to all of y'all.
What?
Interesting.
There is a very similar product that exists that if you just want the aesthetics of this and nothing more.
Okay.
It is made by the company that makes those terrible headphones. Sorry. It is made by the company that makes those.
Cool headphones.
It's made by the company that makes the headphones that David likes.
yeah from last week.
KM5.
Yeah.
They make a CD player. I believe it's called the CP2.
Don't
Oh
worry.
yeah.
Yeah, the CP2.
You cannot convince me to buy a CD player.
I am in the market for a
pretty.
CD player, and this seems like the one that I want. But yeah, if you want this,
Wait.
but instead of a hard drive, it's a CD. It's right there.
Ellis, I want the headphones and I don't want a CD player, and you want a CD player but on the headphones. Why don't we just buy the bundle and split it?
Wait, there's a bundle?
There probably isn't, but I might email them and ask them.
Yeah,
if
it's
they
like
can do a
$1,000
bundle.
bucks.
No.
kidding.
I mean, maybe.
Also, you need to this hard drive. You need to enter in a drawing because there's only 50
500.
units.
Oh, there's 50?
50 units priced at 100,000 yen.
I thought there was
So
500.
around 700. Available
Oh
for
my
purchase
God.
starting in June via lottery.
That makes it even more like you want it more.
It's probably because they
there's
could only find 50 micro B cables. So that's
All they need to do is have me open up my suitcase full of cables, and I've got 50 micro B cables for them right there.
That's wild.
Well, trivia.
It's funny because nostalgia, it'll hit me. It'll be like something that I cared about as a kid, and I'll be like, "This is beautiful. I love it. I want one." Like the Zune HD. Yes, please.
I was
need
just
it.
gonna
Bring
say,
it back.
what if
And
it's a
then,
hard drive that looks like the Zune HD?
Then I would love it. But then as soon as it's something that I don't care about, I'm like, "This is dumb. Like, why would anyone want this?"
Wow. I would use an HTC Thunderbolt again. If it was just like better screen.
That was actually the worst phone.
Or
I've
sorry,
ever
not
used.
Thunderbolt. Might be one M8
Oh, I love that phone.
or M7. One of the
the
two.
play version
Yeah.
or the regular
Yeah, the
version?
Thunderbolt
far
was
they
horrible.
came.
The Thunderbolt burned my hand.
It was like the first 4G
4G
phone.
smartphone. Yeah.
And I remember having it, and it died before the end of the school day.
Yeah.
Think about how fast your phone has to die.
That was so long
like,
ago
sitting
because you
in
were in
cooling
school.
was
Yeah, I
That's
remember in
crazy.
fifth grade, I'd be in like 7th period biology. I'd be like, my phone's gonna die, and I don't have a way to charge it,
Yeah.
and that would be a problem.
You didn't have
And they'd
your
be like, "You're
micro
a tech
beep.
Yeah,
reviewer,"
you-
and I'd be like, "It has its downsides. Your phone could die."
Yeah, I was
Anyway.
trying to do Skype and one other thing at the same time, and it overheated and burned my hand.
Rest in peace, Skype.
I know. Rest in peace, officially. Skype.
Yeah.
That's true.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
We never even got live translation.
maybe Skype had to die for live translation to run. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, trivia. Matias Duarte
Oh yes,
OG.
is a
Daddy.
Chilean-American computer interface designer that worked on WebOS, the hip top, and then Google picked him up, obviously, to work on, Android
Material
things.
U. What a god.
That too. The first version of Android that he himself worked on was what?
If it's what I think it is, that's gonna be really funny.
Hint,
Yeah.
this version of Android debuted on the Motorola Zoom tablet. Zoom with an X. Because of
is
course.
what I thought.
I love
This-
that tablet.
These two questions, the amount that
one.
these two understand is like 98%. The amount I understand is literally less than
If
one.
you guess at an Android version, you will
can
probably
give-
get it.
You should be able to say the name instead of the number too. That might help.
I'll take both, but
Sure.
I'll give you an extra point if you get both.
Okay.
Name and number.
I reviewed it, so I have no excuse not to know it. But yeah, this is.
I'm between two because of reasons that I can't say.
I'm writing it down now so that I don't.
What about the last one? The last question, the first question.
I'm just gonna cover it up.
If you're between two answers
Twixt.
and you're, choosing which one and you're going back and forth, you could be saying that you're switching between those.
Switching between two.
It is a switch.
You know what's funny? I thought that joke got unfunny faster than the audience did. You know,
We're making
I
it.
think
Oh.
I know.
Every day.
We gotta go. We gotta go to break.
It ended up
this
being-
is this is plummeting.
Okay, all right.
We'll see you soon.
Switch to.
Support for Waveform comes from Coda. So we all love it when a plan comes together, but trying to keep track of all of the information, data, and projects we're working on across dozens of platforms, that's just not the vibe for the summer. Coda is. Maybe not a vibe per se, but their all-in-one collaborative workspace can help you and your team get your projects done. Coda offers the flexibility of docs with the structure of spreadsheets to facilitate deeper teamwork and quicker creativity. The new turnkey AI solution, Coda Brain, is a game changer. Powered by Grammarly, Coda is entering a new phase of innovation and expansion, aiming to redefine productivity for the AI era. So whether you're a startup looking to organize the chaos while staying nimble, or an enterprise organization looking for better alignment, Coda matches your working style. Its seamless workspace connects to hundreds of your favorite tools, including Salesforce, Jira, Asana, and Figma, helping your teams transform their rituals and do more faster. So you can head over to coda.io/wave right now and get 6 months of the team plan for startups for free. That's coda.io/wave and get 6 months of the team plan for free. coda.io/wave. All right, welcome back. For our last little bit, I wanted to ask our fellow hosts what they think will be more exciting this year, Google I/O or WWDC.
IO. Well, wait, can we count the little pre-Android event the week
You
before
can loop
IO?
that in, sure.
I vote that because DubDub's just going to be what DubDub was last year because they're still releasing the same thing.
They just re-announced Apple Intelligence
They
again.
just replay the same thing
Yeah.
with 24 crossed out.
Oh, yeah?
2025. And
Yeah, but we are getting new UIs for both of these things.
Yeah.
Because remember, they're getting the very Vision OS style UI
Glass stuff.
glass, and then also the new Android version is also supposed to be really glassy. But then it's also going to have Material 3 Expressive. Gemini 2.5 with
Flash.
deep research.
Both could be interesting. I guess the question is, okay, we can do our little preview of each of them coming up. I/O is coming up first, then WWDC is coming up later in the summer.
June.
Google I/O happens every year. It's Google's developer conference where they talk about all the new stuff happening on the software front. But this year they've separated out the Android part of it, which is usually the part I'm most interested in, because we suspect there is going to be a lot of AI, Gemini, etc. in the main I/O. But I'm looping them both together because I think they're both interesting, and I do expect a good amount of new software stuff, like we talked about with Android, with the new UI, with Material 3, Expressive, etc. It could be fun to watch. WWDC, we actually have some leaks, or at least some themes to expect according to Mark Gurman, which I also think are interesting. There's 3 main bullet points. He writes, redesigned and more cohesive operating systems, which is what you mentioned with like Vision OS and the Glass. New Apple Intelligence capabilities, which to me...
But we didn't get the old ones yet.
Are you adding to the list, or what's happening here? And then lastly, major enhancements to the iPad's OS.
It just turns into Mac OS.
Now, every year we
Pretty much.
have this discussion. The iPad gets more powerful, it gets a better chip, it does slightly more stuff, but it's never... We make the same video every year.
Yeah,
some,
we do.
Some YouTuber goes, can it be my computer? And then they use it for a week and they go, actually, it's kind of good at some stuff and kind of not that good, but Apple intentionally makes it a little confusing. So when I see major enhancements to the iPad's OS, it's kind of like reading Tesla Roadster. I go, oh, really? This time? It's for real, huh? And I don't want to get my hopes up too
But
high.
Marquez, this time will be different.
This time, they're
Actually,
really
this
gonna
year's
do
got
it.
a pretty good shot at it being. No,
Oh, really? Yeah. No, I don't know what to expect by major enhancements, because I feel like it could just be a different way of organizing the windows that Apple already does, or it could be a dramatic thing that we're not expecting.
the 2 rumors I read are a new menu bar and a new way of doing Stage Manager. Both of them seem to be specifically when you connect them to the Magic Keyboard, which make them feel more like a Mac.
Sure.
Yeah.
But can I move my mouse around freely? Or will it still snap magnetically to random icons?
I haven't used.
It's
that
probably
stuff.
going to
It
still
did that?
snap. Yeah. Well, you can move it freely between icons, but then when you move near an icon, it snaps to the icon. So
It
like
does?
common touch points. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is actually, I thought it worked pretty well.
I thought it was pretty good, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Do you not like it?
I didn't like it. It's
Does
weird.
you guys need aim assist?
It's not that we need it. It's just that it felt good. There are certain small touch points, like in the corners or on like small items you'd normally touch with your finger, where it would be frustrating if you missed. So they just make sure you don't miss. So if you were going to click like a blank space next to an icon, that wouldn't have done anything. So they just snap you to the thing you were going to.
So like when you're using the touchpad?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So you had a little glowing
Why?
white circle for a cursor. I don't know why, but
Sorry.
it did work.
I want to try. I want to go test this.
I
after
should let-
this.
I should
Sorry,
set
I do
you up
want to
with it.
try.
I think it works pretty well.
Yeah.
I like
That
that.
sounds
I never said
disgusting.
it didn't work. I just want to know if I can move it however I want.
I just want to know if I have free will on my.
It's right between free will and determinism. It's like right below it. You can't press the pixels next to the icon.
It's you
but
have
why would
free,
you want to?
You have free will, but I know best.
Yeah, you can't drive off the side of the road, but why would you want to? It's like lane
Training
assist.
wheels.
It's lane assist.
It's aim assist. It literally is aim assist on your
have-
desktop.
Cars have lane assist, so you feel yourself like, getting too close to the yellow
Right, that's
line.
true,
It like
that's
bounces
true.
you back to the middle.
I hate that.
And on one hand, oh no, I don't have free will. But on the other hand, there's families over there that I need to not crash into. So yeah, it's like keeping you doing what you want to do. You know?
Cool.
Bumper bowling? I don't know.
Bumper bowling.
It's a thing you can do.
Wow.
If you want to. But yeah, well, we'll see. This is all like stuff TBD this summer, and I'm trying not to get my hopes up too high. We've had the Glass iOS discussion before. I'm not really sure exactly what that looks like, but it could happen.
I'm excited for the mini IO for
Me
Google.
too.
That's all about Android.
Android stuff.
The Android show, as they call it.
What is it going to be about?
Material 3 Express powered by
literally it?
Gemini
It'll be-
Nano.
It's going to be the version of Android that you see on the next Pixel and only the next Pixel,
Yeah.
basically.
Until 2 months after that, and then it's on all the pixels.
Yeah. Then it comes to Google Photos.
Right, but it will never be on any Android phone. Like, I've accepted that we just got this One UI 8 update on our Samsung phones, and
7.
it's-
7.
Sorry, One UI
I just
7.
downloaded it today.
Just got it this morning. I very little changed, but there's some new stuff.
It looks pretty different.
Wait, am I coming from? Is this One UI 8? Are you talking about this?
No, 7.
This?
7. The like how now the notifications and the
Okay. So I've been on this for a while.
Oh, you have? Yeah, I just got it this morning. I hate that my app drawer is not pages; it's one singular sliding drawer. Now.
Okay. So I've been on. I guess I was on. I was on the
that.
beta for a while. That's why.
I'm actually kind of liking. I know a lot of people are mad at the swipe from the
nice.
right for quick settings, swipe from the left. That's cool.
A little dynamic island action.
2 swipes this time.
But if you just swipe down from anywhere on the phone, then it's your notifications.
Yep.
So I think it's very specific to go to your settings top right.
Why do we
But
start talking about this?
I don't remember exactly.
Android.
Anyway,
Yes.
I'm excited because for the last 2 months, we have had to talk about some sort of court case. And now for the next essentially 4 weeks, we have straight. Next week is mini IO. The week after is IO. The week after that is probably
excited.
all the leaks for DubDub and then DubDub.
Yeah.
It is the next month of bangers.
Bangers
excited.
only.
Yeah.
We've been in a little lull this year, and I think we're finally going to get back to popping off. Everything's going to pop off.
We might go 4 whole episodes without saying the word tariff or court.
Or switch.
I don't know about that.
Well,
I'll keep track because I highly
pump
doubt
the
that.
brakes, Marques.
We were in a lull. Now we're going to be in an LMAO. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I get it.
Can I propose?
Elvis
I know it's
didn't
it's a bunch of what you think I don't you think I'm too young for LMFAO? Is that
No.
we were
Yes, actually, the way you responded to that, I
I
do.
You think not? Look, I was a fan of LMFAO
That's
both
exactly- he
before
doesn't understand.
and after they started party rocking. Excuse me, apologized for party rocking.
Okay.
All right.
Forward. What were you going to say, Alex?
I want to propose a over/under bet.
Okay.
Specifically for IO,
Yes.
not mini IO,
Okay.
Grandpa IO.
Okay.
Which is over/under how many
AI.
things. I'm realizing I gamble so little. I don't even know if I'm doing over/under right. Actually.
Let's play Bellatrix.
Well, you just got to parlay the money line and then
Yeah. So parlay this money line, fools.
By puts.
How many things will Google advertise that you can now do as a podcast or understand as a podcast?
2.
So how many times do they say the word podcast?
How many times
the
are they
easy way
like,
of
do you
doing
not want to
Notebook
do
LM.
this? Now it's how many times will they turn something that's not a podcast into a podcast?
1.
I don't know-
7.
I don't know if we'll specifically see the podcast thing. I do think they're going to turn everything into something different with an LLM. I actually find the podcast thing occasionally useful where you can just drop in a URL and go, give me a podcast about this. And
You use that?
I have used it. I don't use it very often, but it is a thing that's impressive that it can do. But I think on stage they're going to spend a lot of time showing people, developers, users, how they can either save time or do more effective, deep research or whatever using these AI tools that they have. And they're going to be everywhere. They're going to be next to your calendar, next to your Gmail, next to your docs, next to everything they do. It's just going to be Gemini, all the things. And maybe you can also have them turn your Gmail inbox into a podcast or something.
All right. I'm setting the podcast. I'm setting the split at 2. So Marques, you have under. You're taking the under.
Let's set it at 1.5.
1.5.
So
Okay,
I'm
great.
taking the under.
Okay, I'm going the over.
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 Yeah, I think
it's going to be 2.
Really? Podcast stuff. Okay.
Yeah, I think they're going to be like, it's the feature that I see people talk about the most on the internet.
They've been
Like,
talking about Notebook LM. There's a whole app coming out for Notebook LM very
Yeah.
soon, and it's probably just going to launch at I/O at this point.
And whenever I see
guess.
people talk about Notebook LM, I do see people, especially on Discord, talk about like really cool things they've done with Notebook LM. But most of the stuff I see is just like, yo, do you not want to like read this entire recipe on how to make this soup? Just turn it into 3 chefs having a podcast where they talk about how to make the soup.
Yeah.
right.
It is kind of cheesy after a while. But if you're that type of learner, some people are visual learners and they have a tool for that. Some people are auditory learners.
Some people are podcast learners.
and then they do that.
I'm going to turn our YouTube comments into a podcast, and that's how I'm going to gauge feedback from every episode.
Yeah.
There
Just
you
have
go.
it be
Yeah.
I'm going to drive my
Actually-
car off the road.
Wait,
3 AI creators like having a riff about the podcast comment section.
wait, actually, I kind of want to. That'd
I
be
don't
funny.
want-
What
My
if
mental
this
can't handle
podcast
that?
right
I like
now
that
was generated by Notebook LM?
It was. But we're not supposed to be self-aware. So let's stay away from that topic.
Yeah. Adam, what do you have?
Free will.
All of our comments are bots anyway, so it doesn't matter.
No. They're lovely people with red blood in their veins.
Yeah, they're all doing the dishes. You think an AI can do the dishes?
All it can do is make a
not gonna
podcast about doing the dishes.
Yeah.
It is funny because some of those Notebook LM podcasts like have inside jokes and will joke about things the exact same way we are, and it kind of feels like we're inside of one of those podcasts right now.
Well, where do you think they learned it from?
It's true.
Now that I think about it, I don't remember coming into this room or leaving it.
No, yeah, you're definitely in a Notebook LM podcast right now.
I don't think LLMs can feel the humidity that is in this room right now.
What if life is just one big podcast?
Damn, that's deep.
Damn. What's that show? What's that? The Truman Show? What is that?
The Truman Show, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a podcast.
Kind of feels like that sometimes as a podcast.
This is season 30 of my podcast.
We're going off the rails, which means
I'm really
sorry, like that. guys.
Which
This
means-
would be funny. It's not funny.
it's time. You know what it's time for.
The trivia podcast.
Trivia podcast.
Not yet. No.
That was
It's pretty close.
that was really good.
Yeah.
Guys.
Yes, chef.
You guys think you're so smart. Well, if you're so smart,
When did we say that?
God, it is really sticky.
Marques
in
It's
here.
so
just-
hot in here.
Did you
I'm
see
just
my
not even
answer?
gonna answer.
Oh well. That's fine.
It's okay, Andrew. I have a very special question just for you,
Okay.
since you saw his answers. But
Okay.
for David and Marques,
Yes.
Aero, Metro, and Fluent are 3 iterations of what tech company's design language?
I
And
was
Andrew.
I was not gonna get this, so seeing the answer does not matter.
Well, Andrew, good for you. This was actually the second question I wrote because I didn't like the first one.
Okay.
So you can answer.
Oh. Okay.
What?
What
Hit me.
was the first generation of the iPhone to have a Pro model?
Well, I want to answer that one too.
No. I already know that as well.
Pro?
Yeah.
Pro.
I think I know.
I haven't decided. Everyone can answer that question. I don't know. There's no rules. It's 90% humidity in here.
There's no rules, then I'm gonna copy Marquez's answer.
No, that's a rule. That's a rule. That's
no,
not
that
a
is
rule.
one of the rules.
What's up? Welcome to my podcast about the rules of a trivia game that I made up. That was my Notebook LM voice impression.
10, 11.
All right. David,
Right.
Microsoft,
correct.
iPhone 11 Pro.
Also correct. I guess we're all answering.
I just wrote 11 because you said
That's what I was
Okay.
looking for, baby.
Yeah. I wrote Microsoft as well.
All right. So 2 points for David and Marques. 1 point for Andrew.
Marquez put 12.
Wait, are we including that with
Oh yeah,
Marquez put 12?
Marquez put 12. Yeah, you just assumed you got it right.
Yeah, was that? Oh, man. I wish I got that.
We'll wait till next week to take that point away.
Did
from
I just
you.
like black out in the booth? I was like, oh, I put 11. Great. Like,
I should have put 11.
oh my God.
Cementing my lead.
That is so sad. I thought that was an Andrew question, and
County
now I just
eraser.
lost a point.
The eraser.
Dang.
Quick update on the score after that big flounder fumble by Marquez. Marquez with 21. Andrew with 12. David with 25.
21.
You know what's bigger than 21?
22.
25.
Well played.
Was it? All right. Matias Duarte, Chilean-American interface designer, worked on a bunch of bangers like WebOS and HipTop. Also, at Google, worked on Android. What was the first version of Android that he worked on?
That debuted on.
That debuted on the Motorola Xoom tablet.
So, fun fact, the Motorola Xoom, it's spelled with an X, and it's actually pronounced Motorola Exoom because it was released the same year that King Tut's sarcophagus was unearthed.
Wait,
What?
No, that's real, bro. That's real. I'm not making this up.
Excellent.
I didn't make up any of that.
What does King Tut have to do with exhume?
Exhume, like they exhumed the tomb.
What does that
It
mean?
means to unearth.
Oh, okay. The more you know.
Flip him and read. What do we got?
5.0 honeycomb.
Yeah,
Andrew?
honeycomb, but not 5.
Oh,
What?
What'd you say?
wait. Then
Well,
Don't worry, I'll explain. Andrew, what'd you say?
I wrote 6.
Wrong.
Okay.
Marquez.
It's honeycomb.
Correct.
The number, when we think about the number.
Oh, is it 4.1?
HI. 4.0 is ice cream sandwich.
Yeah. Was it
So
4.1?
H would be 3.2, maybe.
It's 3. I'll give it to
3,
you.
okay. Or
Nice.
3, all the 3s, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
all the 3s are honeycomb, all the 4s are ice cream sandwich.
Wait, so what's this?
5 was
No. Like, what is this as a correct or incorrect answer?
because he got honeycomb,
Yeah.
but not 5.0.
So could I
it was
just write
both.
7 answers, and if one of them
I
is
told you to
right-
just
You
guess.
did technically guess twice, and you got one.
Yeah, that's 2 guesses. So if one's wrong and one.
Remember, I said I'd give 1 point for the version number, 1
okay,
point for the name.
You
Okay.
did?
Yeah.
Wait, do I get 2 points?
Yeah, you got 2 points for that.
God.
Wait, why? You didn't write it down.
He didn't put the version.
Well, I didn't know that.
Wait, you didn't put the version?
No.
Marquez!
Did you say that?
I said that.
No. If I had heard that, I would have written it down.
15 minutes earlier.
I'll take both, but
Sure.
I'll give you an extra point if you get both.
All right. I think we need it. Wait. Thanks for coming to this episode of the Notebook LLM podcast. Just kidding.
Take us out.
Hey, well, thanks for listening to this episode. We hope it satisfied your prompt. Let us know if you want to have another discussion and just put in another prompt and we'll make another podcast about it. The prompt section is down there. It's disguised as a comment section, but it's just a prompt for the next LLM podcast. Catch you guys next week. Peace.
Waveform is produced by Adam Molina and Ellis Rovin. We're partnered with Vox Media Podcast Network, and our outro music was created by Vane Still.
Bingo. Let's go.
No, the
New
word
York.
sanctity is the meaning for one word that means two different things. Anyway, this is how. So there's the backstory is the lamest lore ever. But there is YouTube channels that are just pronunciation guides.
Okay.
So if you're an English or English-speaking second language, you would find one of these channels and you'd find a hard to pronounce word and you go, oh, that's how you pronounce synecdoche. So it would be a very official-looking thumbnail like this, and you click on it, and then this is.
Sign a kind of doty chody. Sign, then a kind of doty chody.